Good morning, students. Let us continue with our series of cloud computing. And the topic we'll be studying today is Identity and Access Management, a topic under Unit 3. And the subtopics are basically related to the provisioning markup languages used in cloud computing environment. So this is the outline for today's session. We'll be studying about Service Provisioning Markup Language, which is termed as SPML. Then we'll be studying about Extensible Access Control Markup Language. We'll be studying about OAuth, that is termed as Open Authentication, followed by certain assignments. So SPML basically is, as I said, Service Provisioning Markup Language and is used by various cloud service providers, like for example Oracle. Oracle has a module termed as Oracle Identity Manager, which is basically responsible for managing the different resource provisioning. It can service the various clients who are using SPML. So SPML client can send a request for user provisioning, and similarly the resources at the back can be checked and returned back whether the user can be created successfully or no in a Oracle environment. So Oracle is one of the examples which is using SPML. So let us see more detail about SPML. So as I said, SPML is basically Service Provisioning Markup Language and is an XML framework based that is being developed by OASIS. OASIS is basically an organization for advancement of structured information standards, and that is used for exchanging user, resource and service provisioning information among cooperating organizations. So these organizations basically form an association and cooperate with each other for exchange of information and service provisioning. So SPML is an emerging standard that can help organizations automate provisioning of user identities basically for cloud services. Like for example, you have an application or a service that is running at a customer site and is requesting a Salesforce.com, that is a CRM application, for new accounts. So this Salesforce.com can service the customer site by providing the new user accounts. So when SPML is available, basically organizations should use it to provision user accounts and profiles with the cloud services. Actually, SPML is supported by software as a service providers, and that can enable just-in-time provision to create accounts for new users in real time as opposed to pre-registering users. So you do not have to register the users previously. You can create the new users, like for example, just-in-time provisioning means at real time or dynamically or on the fly. So CSP extracts attributes from the SEML token that was previously generated using the Secure Access Markup Language, and this is basically done for a new user. So this creates an SPML message on the fly. SPML on the fly means at real time and hands the request to a provisioning service, which in turn adds the user identity to the cloud service database of the users. So adoption of SML can lead to various standardizations and automation of users or system accesses and entitlement of rights to the cloud services so that the customers are not locked into proprietary solutions. So these proprietary solutions, locking off into proprietary solutions is termed as vendor locking, which needs to be avoided when cloud is to be used. So this is a use case where you have a company A administrator, he is trying to add or delete employees of the organization, and the request is going to a HR system of record, that is the requesting authority, which in turn will send the SPML request to the provisioning service at the service provider. This has to be in a trusted environment. So this will check for the provisioning workflows, will provide the accounts as and when needed and with the respective authentication checked and with respect to the policies checked. On the lower side you have the registration approvers. So these are the approvals given for the users that are to be created, and you have the database on the top side which stores the various users of the cloud. So this is basically a use case that is used for SPML. So let us study more detail about this. So this is basically a HR system of record requesting authority in an SPML web service based environment. a client kind of interacting with the HTML provisioning service provider at the cloud service provider environment, who is basically responsible for provisioning user accounts on cloud services, and that is termed as provisioning service target, which has to be in a trusted environment, as I discussed. So now let us study about extensible control access markup language. So this again is a open standard that is ratified by OSS and used for basically managing and controlling the various policies. So as I said, XSCML is an OSS ratified general purpose XML based control language, and this is basically used for policy management and access decisions. So it provides an XML schema for general policy language, which is basically used to protect any kind of resource in the cloud environment and makes decision accessible over these resources. So the XML standard not only gives the model of a policy language, but also proposes a policy processing environment model to manage the policies and conclude with the access decisions. So it basically helps in managing the policies and conclude the final access decisions which need to be taken to access the resources. So it is not only a standard but basically a model for policy language. So XSML content also specifies the request response protocol that the application environment can use to communicate with the decision point. So there are basically two main important points we will be studying. It is PEP and PDP. So the response to an XML access request is also specified using a XML, extensible markup language. So the goal basically of XSML is to provide a standard language which is in the form of XML only, and it is a method to access and policy enforcement across all the applications that implement a common standard authorization basically. So as I said, it is a standard language and it consists of methods to access control and policy enforcement across all the applications, and those specific applications which implement a common authorization standard. Now let us see the various steps that are involved in a process of XSCML. So basically an example which we are considering here is a healthcare provider in which various types of users will be there. Like for example, in the hospital you will have various associates like the physician, the registered nurse, the aides who are supporting the nurses, and the healthcare supervisors. So these are going to basically access various elements of the patient's record. So various patients are going to be there in the hospital, and these are the various entities in the hospital environment who will be accessing the patient records. So this application basically relies on the two main points. As I said, one of them is PEP, that is policy enforcement point, and the request is basically forwarded to the request to the PEP. So this PEP is actually an interface basically for the application environment. It receives the access request and evaluates them with the help of policy decision point. This is a second entity which is important in the XSCML environment, and it permits or denies the access to the resources, basically the healthcare records of the patients. So if a person has a right to access, he or she will be given the right to access, else the accesses will be denied. So this is shown in the diagram. You have the various types of health providers and the entities who are working in the health environment. Like for example, you have a healthcare supervisor, he or she is trying to access the patient records. You have the physician who is trying to access and access the various records of the patient. You have the registered nurses who are doing, and the nurse aides who are trying to access the records. So this goes to an interface that is PEP, policy enforcement point, which is basically in a healthcare application environment, and this in turn forwards the XSCML request to PDP, as you can see in the diagram, and this is basically interacting with the access control policies, that is, which is a blue database access which is shown, which stores the different policies of the hospital environment. Policies in the sense which doctor is accessible to which particular patient's information, or which healthcare supervisor or physician or registered nurse or the aides to the nurse are basically accessing the various user records who has the specific right or no. If they have the right, they are allowed to access, and if they do not have, they are denied the rights. So these are again various other steps that are involved. Like for example, the PEP then sends the request to the PDP, After it is checking from its trusted environment, the PEP will send the request to the PDP, and the PDP is basically the main decision maker, as we saw here. You can see here, PDP basically has the access control, and this will check the rights, whether the specific doctor is going to have the rights to access the patient records or no. So this basically collects all the necessary information from available information sources and concludes the decision on what access to grant. Like if you have only read accesses, so you will be provided read accesses, and if you have write accesses, you will be provided for write accesses, modify accesses, so you will be provided modify accesses. The PDP should be located in a trusted network environment, which I discussed before, right? It is basically to see that the information is not lost, or the privacy of the data of the health record patients is not questionable. So this is going to be in a trusted environment network with strong access policies, strong access control policies, which are defined in the specific diagram we saw in the last slide. So specifically, example is a corporate trusted network protected, that is going to be protected by a corporate firewall. So after this evaluation, the PDP will send an XSCML response to the PEP. So this PEP fulfills the obligations by enforcing the PDP's authorization decision. So these were some of the steps involved for the XSCML process. Now let us see about open authentication, which stands for OAuth. This is basically an emerging authentication standard that allows consumer to share their private resources. Example, like you have photos, videos, contact lists, bank accounts, which are basically stored on one of the CSP's server, and they can interact with another CSP without having to disclose the authentication information. Authentication information is basically related to the username and the password. So once they form an association between them, one CSP need not have to share or disclose the authentication information with another CSP. So OAuth is basically an open protocol, and it was basically created with the goal of enabling authorization via a secure application programming interface that is termed as API, and it is basically a simple and standard method for desktop, mobile and web applications. So these are various applications for this. OAuth is basically a standard method. So for application developers, OAuth is a method for publishing and interacting with protected data. So for web applications or the application developers, OAuth is a very important method that is basically used for publishing and interacting with the protected data, or data which is in a secured environment. So for CSPs, OAuth provides a way for users to access the data that is hosted by another provider who is in the form of a group or in an association, while protecting their account details. So this was basically some introduction on OpenAuth. We'll be studying more details about OpenAuth in the next class. So these are assignments for today. Some are 7 marks questions, and most of them are 7 marks questions and very specific related to this topic. So if you have any query, you can contact me at the specified email ID, or you can also WhatsApp. Thank you for today. We are done. Good day.